Coming to get you, Barbara.
What an excellent day for an exorcism.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
We have such sights to show you.
Who's laughing now?
Are you crazy? I'll kill you all. I'm the best nightmare you ever had. I am your worst dream come true. I'm everything you ever were afraid of.
They're here.
There we go. I'm going to get me to the bottom here. So that's better. Oh my gosh. How are you guys doing today?
Super sweet, and super dope.
Lauren, you're on mute. I don't know if you can hear me. I think you might be frozen.
She looks froze. She looks like a frozen goth princess.
So this is part 3 right here because they didn't get into true crime during the Frozen series, and that really would have boosted the numbers. I say, just whatever.
You know what I think? I think there's some mystery going on with those two sisters.
You know what? I think they are just covering each other's tracks for blatant. I don't want to say crime, but it's crime. Whatever they're doing, it's crime. I don't know if it's like racketeering or murder.
I'm not so sure about this whole story about their parents just randomly dying. I mean, and then the sister had her frozen, her ice problems, and then that caused her to get locked into her bedroom for her whole life, and then and now her sister doesn't really have isn't magical at all. I mean, or is she? I don't know.
Are you implying right now? Let me get this straight on camera that Disney might hide some ulterior motives?
It's rare, and it's just so unlike Disney to just hide what's going on. The true causes.
I am flabbergasted. They are just a small town mom and pop organization trying to make it in this world like the rest of us.
I know. And they're just trying so hard, and not a lot of people have heard of Disney, so like it's hard to so it would just be really, really dissatisfactory if they were to have an agenda.
True. It's very sad but true. Yeah. Oh my God. Timothy, Bob, Lex, how you guys doing? Loving that beanie.
Oh yeah. You like it? Rocking some black craft this evening. Being proud of my my Satanist roots going down. You know what? And I really like this because it's I haven't worn this one too much, and I saw it tonight and I was like, hey, what about this one? But we've got some cool like berry tie-dye going on, and then loud and proud. Baff right in front, waving hello to everybody.
It's pretty badass.
As he should. He's just waving hi to everybody, So.
Oh yeah, gotta throw up the horns once in a while. And I'm enjoying myself with my coffee with one of my favorite killers. Oof. Oh, that looks better than I do on camera. So
that's Fred. Okay. Yeah. I had a hard time deciphering. I'm like, what is that? It was just a massive
black and white.
Swirly twirlies going on. It took me a second to register it.
He looks better on camera than I do right now. So I probably should just hold that up the entire show. Lauren's having a little bit of trouble. Lauren, if you can hear me, I don't see your camera on just yet, but as soon as I do, I'll bring you on. Okay, so don't worry, whatever it is, I know you'll figure it out. We got this. Not an issue, because tonight we've got quite a bit to talk about. There's some horrible stuff about to get thrown down.
Yeah. Sorry to make a bad true crime pun, excuse me. But what we're talking about tonight is a tall order of true crime.
Oh my goodness, that joke was pretty lackluster. That was a bumble butt of a joke right there. I could do it too. See, you get it.
Bumble butt. Well, should we wait for Miss Lauren to come back before we announce the topic of tonight's show, or should we just?
What do you call it? Yeah, let's give her a couple more minutes for right now. Very excited to see you all in 2022. Especially like Lex in the comments for the first show for Girls Gore and Gin of the year. And we did just random, almost unbelievable true crime facts, which is a lot of fun. In fact, Freddie was included in that list, so that was really nice. Made me happy. And today we have on the wonderful alien Queen Bee and Miss Lauren. Oh, there we go. So before we do the topic, Lauren, can I give me a thumbs up when you're ready, okay? But before we get into the topic of tonight, did you do anything for New Year's?
Me?
Yeah.
I just drank at home. I prefer, if I feel like getting my drink on, I like to do it at home or like at a friend's house or at my fiance's house, like somewhere where it's like chill for me to lose my mind. I'm not a big fan of like, I'll go out to the bar for like a couple of drinks and then eventually I'm going to be like, I want to go home. Mostly because I know that I'm safe at home. I don't have to worry about trying to find a ride somewhere or trying to find a designated driver. Drinks are cheap as shit at home.
Oh yeah.
I can listen to whatever kind of music I want to listen to at home, and I don't have to deal with some Bakersfield bro putting on either, butt rock or country music or some scorned Bakersfield woman putting on Carrie Underwood.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's me. I get a couple Appletinis in me and I'm putting on a Carrie Underwood.
There
or whoever
it is.
made the song about carving the name on the side of the car song.
You know what, Migs? Maybe next time he'll think before he cheats. Maybe.
Yeah, because they always do, right?
I can't. I'm gonna stay on the other side of this conversation because I'm the only guy here. So I'm gonna. Yeah, men are terrible. Ugh.
Sorry, guys. By the way, holy shit! I think it's my headphones. I think the headphones and the mic plugged into the laptop was just too much for it.
Oh, and it kind of just on you.
It just crapped out on me. I don't know what it is. Last week, my laptop was plugged in, but it wasn't charging enough. And I had the headphones on and this, and for whatever reason, it wasn't charging, and then it just died. And so I don't know. I'm just.
Well, you're here now. That's
all that matters. Yeah.
You're here now.
That's what I'm loving it. I am loving it. So that brings us to right here, right now, talking about Lauren, you want to fill them in for us?
We're talking about Ed Kemper, the co-ed killer.
Big ass Ed.
Dude, this fucker is huge.
Big
so tall.
Is huge. He's still alive, right? Pretty sure he's still.
Yeah, he's
still
73 years old.
73. Wow.
Yeah, crazy. And before we get started and getting into this, I feel sorry for him. He's the one killer that I feel like maybe Dexter was kind of like modeled after almost. Like he just had this fucked up thing and he had to take care of it. And I don't know, his upbringing was shitty. Like, well, most of the killers that we talk about, their upbringings were shitty. They had injuries, like I mentioned last week, all kinds of shit, But I feel bad for him. I really do. But at the same time, it's like, do we feel bad for him or is he just that good at convincing people that he's a great guy.
Well,
I
I
have
mean,
to go. I got to go with that. Yeah, I think it's all an act on his part, but we'll
No,
definitely get into
you
that.
think so? I don't know. I kind of feel maybe not. I guess we'll get into
I don't
it.
know. Ed's a very, very smart man, and he was. I mean, we'll get into that. His life story a little bit. Ed's a very smart man, and he's but sociopath, very smart about gaslighting and sociopath. They know how to play people, but they don't associate with people. You know what I mean? So also just genuinely intelligent. I think, what did they say?
Yeah.
His IQ was like in the 140s or 140 at least. Very, very smart.
136.
Yeah.
136
Very smart
IQ.
dude. So I think it's kind of a conjunction of both. I mean, being sociopathic and then also being very, very just baseline normal intelligent. I mean, maybe it's a little of both. Maybe he's playing both sides. He's being a double agent to, I don't know, but you know what I mean.
Secret agent man.
Ed Kemper. Secret agent.
I'm not gonna give him that much. He isn't that kind of cool. All right, I think he's different. It ain't no secret agent. I will say this though, he did have a shitty.
I just
a
wanted
shitty
to sing the song.
Yeah, did have a pretty shitty childhood. And just to build on the secret agent thing, I don't think that guy would fool anybody as a secret agent. I mean,
you don't think maybe he was so big? He was just so giant they would ignore you just to, like, oh fuck, don't look at the giant guy trying to like hide documents in the wall over there. Like, oh fuck.
I mean, what is he? 6'9", 350, 360. I mean, big dude.
Right. His mom was a big lady too. She was like 6 foot tall, like 6'4", I think.
Yeah.
His mom was huge
she was
too.
Very
Jesus
with a
Christ.
beautiful name. She was a wonderful woman, Clarnell.
Clarnell.
Clarnell. I think she died as Clarnell Stage was her last name. Because they didn't share the same last name because she got married again after so long. I think she had like 4 marriages.
Oh fuck! I didn't even get that far into that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, when you're that big and brassy, you're just gonna bring in those dudes. I get
brassy
it. Like,
woman.
Yeah, I'm sure she had some kind of lovableness about her.
She
just wasn't
big
good to her son.
old steely broad that liked to throw it around and wield it.
Her.
Gosh,
Dude, her haircut was gnarly. I saw pictures of her haircut.
I have a very
it's similar to Miguel's, actually.
Right now, yeah, we kind of look similar. I think. Let me see if I can get a good picture, a big one of her to post up. Here we go. Yeah. So give me 1 second, guys. I'll have the picture up in just a second.
Big pic for a big woman.
I feel like in some descriptions that I've read about Clarnell, she probably...
I have to say it that way. I'm sorry.
Clarnell. Admin. I feel like she was probably one of the OG Karens. I mean, she had to be.
Oh my god, for real.
But not like one of those quiet Karens that like lives in your neighborhood and will come knock on your door and be a horrible Karen, but then at the same time like keeps her voice lowered while she's being a Karen. This is the Karen that goes to Pizza Hut and is like, "Why ain't my pizza done?" And
oh my god, tries to beat up the cashiers.
Right.
Did he fee-fi foam down at a beanstalk?
I mean, who knows?
Motherfucker, all right.
He's totally a big
could have for sure.
Let me get that up there real quick. There she is alongside her son.
Oh yeah, definitely.
looks like you, Miguel.
Definite Karen. I mean, come on, look at that. Look at that. She's walking into the Walgreens, wondering why her prescription isn't filled, and why they're sold out of cat litter.
What?
And why don't you carry my brand?
Why come this ain't ready yet?
Why is my son out of the closet? Why did he let him out? Or no, the crawl space. Sorry. Why did you let my son out the crawl space? That is true. He was forced to sleep in the floor.
Is this feigned pose of benevolence that she has here. Look. She looks so introspective. She's just,
Dude, no, I could tell. Like, look at her. Like, she kind of looks like that face. Like, just dreaming about beating the shit out of my kids.
Right.
Well, from my understanding, though, she wasn't bad to her daughter. I think she had one or two daughters. It was just towards Ed.
Maybe I venture to say maybe not as bad. Because I mean, I still feel like that there's some, like one of her daughters is trying to leave the house to go to school in like a knee-length dress. Don't dress like that, you whore! Like,
knee-length? Oh no! You better it better be 2 inches on the floor dragging.
Good heavens!
Or you're going to the prayer closet like on Carrie.
An ankle. Yeah.
Ooh. You're not showing no dirty pillows or ankles in my house. Assalamu alaikum. You better get your ass back in there, all right?
Good Lord, dirty pillows.
You remember that from Carrie?
Dirty pillows.
I fucking love that line.
But in the meantime, look at Clarnell, but look at Ed. I mean, a huge dude. I think we've established that the man is enormous.
Yes.
But I mean, but just look at him. Does that look like an imposing, scary man to you? Nigga,
not at all. He looks like a sweet guy, and a lot of people thought he was.
Yeah, like granted huge, but because gentle giant. I mean, look at him. Like, would you be freaked out by that guy if he
not
came
at all?
No,
not at all. Which is scary.
I have another picture to show you guys. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick.
Okay, hide your Facebook.
Yeah, I'll bring this down real quick just so I can.
Well, real quick while you're looking for that, he was born in December 18th, 1948, in Burbank, California, to his father.
Birthday. Oh,
he did just have a birthday.
Edmund Kemper Jr. So I don't know if he was a junior, I guess. Well, what do you call third generation? Are they juniors as well?
That's the third, I guess. It's a junior.
The third? Oh,
yeah.
Junior.
Third. Yeah.
It's a Juneception, if you will.
That's a good way to call it. Juneception.
Look at that man. That's a huge dude.
Jesus
Look at that guy.
Christ. Holy shit. I'm 4'10". So he is like.
Oh, you'd have been dead.
Me plus maybe almost another one of me.
Right.
It's so crazy to think of.
Yeah. Like if I stood on top of myself and like cut maybe my shoulders off.
Right.
Jesus.
I'm about 5'7", so maybe I would fare just a little bit better, but still that guy could break me in half with just his like
holy shit.
No, yeah, he was an imposing character, but when most of his crimes happened, I'm skipping ahead a little bit here, but he was sitting down in a car at the moment, when they first saw him. So it was just kind of a big, chunky guy because he's got weight to him, and his face, he looks like just a dumpy kind of funny teddy bear. He doesn't look imposing when he's probably sitting down and he's just offering you a ride. And like, it was back in the day when, hitchhiking was a lot more normal.
In the 70s, holy shit. Yeah. Like, and okay, so before we get into his crimes too, something about this hitchhiking thing that was really popular in the 60s and 70s. Mm-hmm. Like, where all these serial killers are like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, look at this. Like,
you can see him and Charles Manson, like, fuck yeah, a bunch of people walking around I could kill.
The smorgasbord of victims. Like, nobody thought that was weird. It wasn't really a thing. People didn't think to like, don't pick up strangers. Like, everybody was super nice to strangers. Like,
get on in. Climb on into the car. Yeah, let's all just have a jolly little ride. Can you imagine? Like, Ed picks up a hitchhiking gal, right? And he's being nice and benevolent to give her a ride. And then can you imagine this man just unfolding himself out of the car? Like when he gets out, it's just a
clown. He's a clown.
Right.
He's a one-man clown car, yeah.
It's true,
And
Richard. Serial
Richard,
killing was the thing in the 70s. Like, holy fuck. Like,
Can you imagine?
I don't know. I think part of me thinks that it's probably because of the Vietnam War and the Korean War. It had a lot to do with the way that kids were raised after their parents were traumatized and their fathers were traumatized coming home from war.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's
I mean, a
not
lot
a
of
That
bad
the
makes a lot of
hypothesis right
sense to
there.
me.
yeah, and I mean, a lot of these parents that were having kids. Well, maybe it's a little. Well, no, not so much. But I think a lot of these parents would have also like had to dealt with like World War II and stuff like that.
Oh
So
shit, that's right. As children.
So I mean,
Truly,
they have
truly.
that to deal with. I mean, look at, I mean, even flash forward to now, you know, we had to go through what 9/11, Iraq,
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan,
Yeah.
Iraq
And
again,
and
Afghanistan again. So
this
I
is gonna
mean,
sound pretty horrible, but what is one thing that is very for sure about 9/11? It was a 1 day situation that took over the world, that changed the world. And nowadays we have more spree killers.
mm-hmm.
Everybody wants that one
Mhm.
moment that's all their attention, no matter what horrible thing they have to do,
You're
and
right,
all the
because
attention is theirs.
Right.
a lot of killers that I'm finding out there, I mean, Bree's on TikTok, you know, like you see all this shit. These killers, that murderers, men that abuse their wives and kill their wives,
Yeah.
were in the military
Yep. Just
not
snap.
that long ago,
Snap.
or in Afghanistan.
Mhm.
No.
Like,
Mhm.
holy shit. My mind is fucking blown.
Yeah.
No.
They
And
just
not
absolutely
saying
snap.
that you're a bad parent or anything if
No.
you went through some stuff, but it
No, right.
does all feed together.
No,
Right.
it kind of reflects the way that America views mental health.
Yeah.
And we're just now starting to get to a point where we're like, oh shit, this is like a real problem.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like,
Our
we
kids,
really have to take care of these people that come out, or else either they're going to murder somebody or they're going to kill themselves.
right.
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
It's
Yeah.
terrible,
I'm sorry.
but very, very
Kinda-
true. No.
We went off on a little kind of little rant there, but it all correlates. So that's my piece.
Yeah. No, I think it fits together very well. I think it's important to kind of think about before even he got started, he was already on the path.
Yeah.
Terrible childhood, which led, his parents splitting up. His dad didn't want him, so they sent him off to grandma and grandpa's. Does anyone want to kind of take over
Yeah.
from there?
Well, from what I read, he actually really enjoyed spending time with his dad because
Yeah.
his mom treated him like shit. His
Yeah.
mom would lock him in the basement and beat the fuck out of him and basically single him out,
Mhm.
against his sisters, and his sisters would bully him. One of his sisters tried to push him onto the train tracks when a train was coming. Like, she literally tried to kill him.
Yeah.
And it was just bullying. And his dad remarried, and would take him, I guess from what the interview that he gave, it was basically like every once in a while he would stay like a month with his dad, and he would cherish those times spending with his dad because he loved his dad. He needed that male influence because his mom, from what I'm reading and going over her history, I guess now would be considered borderline personality disorder, which if you've ever dealt with somebody with BPD, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Like, they will take on your personality and manipulate you. And like they're either like, they take on your personality to get to like reel you in, and then once you're there, they can't control their emotions. If they get angry at something, it's all your fault. Like, they need somebody to blame or love for everything. So it's just like this weird psychological fucked up thing.
Yeah.
And, so his mom was crazy. His dad,
I think
after he remarried, slowly, you're right, eventually didn't want him. But that was like a slow burning sort of thing. Like, and he did eventually go to live with his grandparents, who treated him like shit as well.
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, as far as his mom definitely, today would have been certifiably diagnosable with borderline personality disorder. And then couple that from what I understand, she had a horrible drinking problem as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
So you
Oh
add
my
that
God.
together, and good old Clarnell, had this thing where she didn't show a lot of affection to Ed because she didn't want him to turn gay. So she
Oh
didn't
my God. Yeah.
baby him. She wasn't very affectionate with him. And from what I understand, his grandmother, I think her name was Muriel or some old lady name
It
like
was
that.
like Maud or some weird shit.
Maud, yeah.
Maude. If you want to
Maud.
look that up, Miguel.
Yeah.
Maud.
Maud.
I don't even know how to pronounce that properly. Is it
No, that's
Maud?
it. That's it. Yeah, it's
Maud.
Maud and Edmund is the
Yeah.
grandfather's name.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, gets sent away, and so Ed loves his time with his dad, but I think, his dad, being remarried and kind of starting another family, maybe didn't really have a lot of time for Ed. And so
Mhm.
Ed eventually goes to live with grandma and grandpa. And from what I understand, grandma was just a carbon copy of his mother. And so where does mom get that from? So grandma was the exact same way. Horrible drinking problem, just a horrible, crony, crotchety old battle axe woman.
Yeah.
And was the same exact way, but coming
Right.
from your older standpoint. Don't know if she
Right.
also had a drinking problem. She probably did, but
Who
was just
knows?
shit awful woman, both to Ed and to her husband, his granddad. But granddad never left because, at this point they'd been married for like 400 years and like he's
Oh
just
my God. Yeah. And that was, you don't do that back in the 50s
Right.
and 60s. And,
So granddad just
you
kind
don't
of
divorce like that.
Right. Granddad just kind of took his licks and was like, well, all right, all right. Now, the relationship between Ed and granddad, not 100% on that. I don't think that it was like entirely affectionless, but at the same time, I don't think he was close with his granddad as a male influence like he might have been with his dad. I think it was a little bit different. So, long story short, Ed didn't get a lot of affection anywhere from anybody, not his
A
mom,
lot
not
of
his
abuse.
a lot of abuse, a lot of verbal abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, a lot of the whole, don't be too sweet to my son or my grandson, or else he'll turn gay and just all of that horrible stuff from back in the day. So,
Which that does not make sense to me at all. That's not even a good line of logic. If you want someone, if you really think that way, wouldn't you want a woman to be super nice to him? I'm like, oh my God, I need to find this one on my
Exactly, right?
Well, whatever.
But
It's a dumb way to think either way, but it doesn't make any sense to withhold something from somebody to think you're going to put them into another way. And Gary in the comments.
But that
sorry,
that's interesting, Miguel, because I mean, you serve a good point, but that actually was like the source of a lot of ridicule that Ed got from his mom, especially is, you never have any girls around, like, oh, because you don't have girls around, like you must be gay. Just again, with that constant abuse and that berating and emasculating kind of stuff from such a young age. Ed, I think Ed was like just still a tiny little boy when all of this started. And
he was a giant little boy, but
a giant little boy, yeah. But I mean, just very young
child.
age. And then I think, again, Lauren, you mentioned that, his mom and his dad eventually divorced. Well, a lot of that anger of like Clarnell's husband leaving her, a lot of that
married
anger.
like 3 times, I think.
Right. But I mean, it was just a lot of that. How dare that man leave me? So like a lot of that anger of getting divorced got directed back
to him. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Oh, you're just like your father. You look like your dad. You act like your dad.
Yeah, you're right. That was another big thing too. He looked like his dad, so she fucking hated him. She hated him. And another thing too, like she would tell him, like basically accuse him of abusing his sisters. So that's why that was her excuse for locking him up, is because, I don't want you to be inappropriate with your sisters. Like, that's very telling of what might have happened to her in her childhood. Like, maybe her brothers or her family or somebody in her family did something to her that was inappropriate. And again, like you said, he did look like his father, so maybe she just like hated his father so much that it's like, I don't want to look at you. I don't want anything to do with you. And
That's
so
exactly
at night, he would just have to go down in this basement. And he talked about in interviews, talking about how his mind would run crazy being alone in this scary basement as an 8-year-old child. Like if you think about Home Alone, the first one, where he has to go down into the furnace, and like this big monster furnace, like all these noises in the house, all this crazy shit, like that could really do some serious damage to a child, on top of all of the abuse and all of the verbal abuse and all of the neglect and all of this shit. So that he eventually started hurting animals, and that's where the serial killer part comes in.
Yeah. I mean, from what I understand, he started, doing really weird off shit with like his sister's baby dolls. He would rip their heads off, and he would like take them in the backyard and stab them, and like do all
cut their hands off.
But see, the mangling the dolls has never thrown me out. I think like so many people do that. Like my sister growing up, she started with cutting the hair off of her dolls. And then they wouldn't grow back, so she'd get mad at the doll basically, and she'd just cut the dolls up.
Well, that was
she
just
would let me blow them up when I'm playing. Yeah. I mean, the destroying of I think it definitely the pets gets me. The pets definitely. It's like,
well, he started off as Sid from Toy Story, and then he eventually moved on to murdering animals.
Yeah,
and
but
then
Sid, you see him in a later movie, I forget which one, and he's just a garbage man doing an honest day's work. So
throwing bodies in that garbage truck, Miguel.
He is a public
we don't see
servant.
What happens in between.
Public servant, and front line.
Hey, so was Dexter Morgan. That doesn't mean anything.
Also a service.
But I mean, you're right. I mean, once the animal abuse and the animal killing and like the doing the weird stuff with animals after, once all that starts, I mean, it's only a matter of time. And at that time, when mental health was not a thing like at all, and I mean, of course, going back to the way that he's been parented and raised, I mean, if it goes unchecked, untreated, then of course it's a very slippery slope and a very dangerous path. And honestly, I mean, Ed had basically everything Ed had. I don't know why we keep saying past tense. I mean, because this is his past, but he is still alive. Ed Kemper is still very much alive.
He's alive. He's in Vacaville right now.
Well, it was because it happened when he was younger.
Okay,
and I think they asked in the comments
that's how I see it.
Yeah,
he's dead to society technically.
Right. So I mean, essentially, Ed was handed every single, stepping stone, landmark, basically just gift wrapped to become the man that he became and to do the things that he did. So I mean, it's just. You look at Ed and it's like, absolutely, it's like, well, no wonder, like, duh, it's a no-brainer that this guy did what he did. So, I mean, let's get into that. Like how
it's a miracle that people now are like starting to see like, oh shit, like the way you treat your children are going to affect that they act when they are adults. Like if you abuse them and scream at them, then they could potentially end up murdering other people or hurting other people, because hurt people. And it's not an excuse, and it's not like, oh, this is gonna happen, but it's just that shit does happen. Like sometimes some people, just something in their brain snaps on top of possible head injuries, because with the abuse, his mom would hit him in the head. So like if you think about your brain, think of it as like water with like an ice cube in this glass. It's just swishing around and smacking up against your skull. And if you hit it hard enough, it's gonna it could damage itself inside of your brain, like inside of your skull.
Yeah.
So it's, there's so much shit that can happen to your brain on top of abuse, on top of emotional abuse, on top of, all kinds of other shit. So
being isolated, not really interacting with anybody.
Yeah.
Real quick, guys.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we have comments.
Gary, he is still in prison. The murders happened in the 70s, but the child that we're talking about is a good 20 some years before that. So I guess his first murders, would have been when he was 15.
Yes.
So that was in the 60s. That was in the early 60s.
But he is still very much in prison, and I don't think he's not in like a regular Hoosgow. He's like in a special mental lockdown, mental hospital.
It's a medical facility in Vacaville.
Yeah, and he's been there for ever, right? Like he's been there like
I think a few decades now.
Yeah, that's like Ed's place. You know,
the fact he's still alive though blows my mind because he's just such a large guy, and I'm assuming they're not like really looking out for his health all that well anymore. They're not really, because
I don't know. He was super intelligent. He might be manipulating people and manipulating other guards, because when he was locked up the first time,
but what did he do to get locked up? Wait.
Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah, let's get back to that. Let's get to that. Yeah.
I'm jumping ahead.
So obviously should never have lived with his mom at any point in time, but for a time period, terrible person. But he did live with his grandparents, Maud and Edmund Kemper, which could have been a great thing as well. But by that point, I mean, he was ready to go. He was ready to do something, and it was a house where they had quite a few guns. For the most part, what I've seen, the grandparents weren't all that bad. They seemed like pretty normal people.
That's questionable.
His grandma was awful. His grandma was a lot like his mom. A lot of the same.
Well, what's crazy about that is that his grandmother was his father's mother. So his father married someone like his mother.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
There's like this whole
it's all
cycle.
Cyclical.
Yeah, it's insane. But yes, continue. I'm sorry.
But they had a lot of guns in the house, and he would try to play with them, so they'd have to take them with them whenever they left. Until
play
finally,
with them? You mean
play with them.
murder
before murdering
animals?
anything, like play around with a gun, which you should never do ever. First of all. But
tell that to Peanut.
What do you call it? There's a difference between the lovable story of Tupac and Biggie playing with guns and cooking bacon, and
get out of here.
That's a real story. It's a real story.
That's a lovable story of
Tupac and Biggie. Yeah, the first time they actually hung out, they smoked a lot of weed, played with guns in the kitchen, and made bacon. That's a real story.
I knew that they were pals. I knew that they were
in the fridge.
All right. Off topic. But he ends up shooting and stabbing his grandmother 3 times each, and then kills his grandfather. In his defense for himself, saying he killed his grandfather so he wouldn't have to see his wife dead. And I'd rather probably see that old lady dead than be dead myself. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
she was pretty fucked up to him, according to him, but who knows? She might have been actually just tried to protect him.
That's another thing I'd like to touch on a little bit.
We don't know that for sure.
We don't know how much of what he's saying, because most of the information comes from his accounts, because he does a lot of interviews. Like right after he was sentenced, interviews. And his sister definitely said he was a crazy person. She was on the stand during his trial, but the people that we would have to ask if they were that horrible, he murdered them. So it's kind of hard to take his side of the story every time when he's the one cutting heads off and having sex with them. So I don't think that he had that bad a life.
Let's get into that shit.
I'm sorry, skipping ahead a little bit there, but that's the only reason I'm not 100% like, oh, he is a tortured soul, because what he did is way beyond what a lot of other people have done and have been through just as much, if not worse, than he has.
Right. So 15 years old, he murders his grandparents, both his granddad and his grandmother. 15. 15 years old, and he gets sent away to a mental hospital, right? Right? That's what happens? Yeah.
Yep. He went to, did I write it down? Oops, sorry. It was a place in Atascadero State Hospital. Yes.
Yep.
Atascadero State Hospital, where he actually believed when he got there that he was stupid.
Like intellectually stupid?
Yeah. When he got there, he thought he was stupid. But it turns out when he was there, they discovered that his IQ was really high.
Well, I mean, I guess if you've been verbally and physically beat down by your mother who constantly tells you you're dumb and you're not worth a shit, you're gonna believe it. And then you get to this outside environment, and then he's 15, so he's still in school, right? So maybe once he gets there, he starts doing school and lessons, and then his teachers in the hospital realize, oh, this kid's fucking brilliant, actually. Like, why does he think he's stupid? And granted, he's in this mental hospital, but then at the same time, mental health is still not really a thing. Like, he's in a hospital, but they're not really it's not really doing anything conducive. I don't think that there's any real like healing going on. I mean,
no, quite the opposite, I think.
Yeah.
I think they helped make him worse.
I think so too, because from what I read, he actually was able to help with questioning other inmates.
Blows my mind, but
and like that he was able to help with the psychological evaluation and stuff of other inmates. Well, I may be wrong on that. I mean, if those in the comments want to correct me, but he basically manipulated the psychiatrists because he was so intelligent and he knew what the fuck he was doing. Like, part of me, but at the same time, it's like, holy shit, this kid just wanted to tell everyone what they wanted to hear so that he could get affection and attention and all these things from these people, because he was still 15. He was still a child.
He's a kid.
But it's like one of those things that's like, holy shit, like, where's the line? Like, do we know for sure? Like, we're not in his brain. Like, has his brain been scanned? I want to see a brain scan, because that will tell us everything we need to know.
I mean, he killed 2 people already at that point.
At that point, yes.
He's already learning like what to say, because he just has to basically plug in keywords and I'm sane, don't worry about it.
You think that's what it is? Really?
Yeah, 100%. Okay. I mean, even as a kid,
maybe I'm just naive, but I feel like I don't know. I've been doing this shit.
There was a story when he was a kid that his sister was talking about his teacher, and he had a crush on his teacher. And what was the quote? Oh, what was the quote?
Why didn't you kiss your teacher? Why didn't you kiss her? If I kissed her, I had to kill her.
Yeah, he was already thinking in those terms, like right away. And
it's hard to think
comes with the psychological abuse and from his mother. It's hard
to think about, because I mean, we've been talking about how this poor kid was raised. Poor kid. Well, we're talking about how Ed was raised. Right. And then it also comes into that whole thing when you think about, is there really such a thing as a bad seed? Like, is there such a thing as a kid being born just with something already going on, and then all it takes is a bunch of contributing factors of that one singular event to click it on? So that's been a whole big thing of debate in the whole psychological community for the longest time. There's varying schools of thought about it. Is there such a thing as a genuine bad seed? And I think Ed is kind of one of those examples where you have to look at it. It's like, well, yeah, he had all of these horrible things and he was already exhibiting from the gate. So it's like, is it possible? Like, was he really, I mean, had Ed been raised in a completely different environment with loving mother and had tons of friends and fit in and was but even so, there are those serial killers out there that had that great childhood. I mean, look at Jeffrey Dahmer.
I was just gonna say Dahmer. Well, according to his parents,
Well, no, I think Jeff always said, I think in that very famous interview with Stone Phillips,
Him and his dad, right?
Jeff said, I had great parents. I had a great relationship. I had a great childhood.
Dexter Morgan.
My parents,
fictional character.
My mom had some mental problems and my parents got divorced, but even so, my parents loved me and did as best as they could with me. And then, but Jeff still did the things that he did. So it's.
Did he suffer any head injuries? I'm convinced that head injuries have a lot to do with fucking psychological shit. Because there are, I mean, oh shit, we might have to do a part 2 on this. I'm excited though. I love this shit. I love talking about this stuff.
No, there's plenty more to talk about. We actually have a question in the comments, guys.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Gary, I just had to look it up because I don't remember them doing any scans to him, but forms of MRI and CT scans were a thing in the 70s and 80s.
Okay.
And I'm 100% sure they had to have done some now. But I think in order to do those, I don't, might be wrong here. You still have to get their permission to include them in a study. So if he doesn't want it, he doesn't have to get it. Right? Am I right? That's at least sounds. I don't honestly
consent,
know.
Yeah. Even inmates have some form of consent that they have to give before things are done.
Totally fine with me. Totally fine with that. I've always said I'm very libertarian. I will say that. But one of the main things that the government should be doing, if you are going to lock someone up, you have to take care of the person you locked up to the full extent of the rules. So if you have somebody in prison right now, you cannot experiment on them. You have to make sure they eat properly and they are safe. Because there's nowhere in our judicial system that says they should be in fear for their lives because they are locked up.
That's true. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
I might be wrong about this, but I think that prisoners and inmates, when it comes to experimentation, but not, you know what I'm trying to say? When it comes to research and experimentation and stuff like that, I think inmates even have a little bit extra protection or have a little bit. I know.
Oh, I see what you're saying, because they're in such like a
controlled
environment, and people have access to their information a lot more than like a civilian. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, you know, and I see what you're saying, Miguel, especially because I mean, when it comes to like these horrible murderers and stuff like that, these people that do terrible things, I'm always the one to be like, fucking find them, lock them up, throw away the key, you know. But then I read, you know, I read things or people are like, oh, these are prisoners, like, you know, why are we testing on animals? Let's test on, you know, prisoners and stuff like that. And I'm like,
because
I don't know how I feel about that.
That is not
the only prisoners I agree that we should all fucking experiment on and treat like fucking garbage are pedophiles.
It's not gonna bother me much. Yeah, honestly, I wish I could say like
pedophiles where there is absolute fucking proof that they did it.
Yeah, then I'm like, fuck it.
Fuck them. I don't give a fuck.
At that point, I'm sorry. I wish I could be a little more humane, but no. At that, not
no,
there.
I don't care. Because you know what? Those people don't change. There is no amount of rehabilitation that you can give those people, because even in other countries like Sweden or Norway or wherever the fuck that they try to rehabilitate these people, they always talk about still wanting to do it. They just don't do it because whatever stupid
they'll
reason.
Get in trouble. Right.
Yeah. We're getting in trouble. Like that's all they care about. And that doesn't matter.
That's a debate for another day, because that's like
yeah.
I mean, are you a good person because you don't do bad things, or are you a good person because you don't want to do bad things? I don't know. I truly don't.
Exactly. There you go.
If you really want to do something bad to another human, like you really want to murder and you don't,
I mean, whatever. Thinking about it though.
Yeah, but that's the weird.
Ed Kemper, like, how do we know that did he really want to do these things, or did he just lash out like he said with his grandparents? He said, according to him, it was just a rash decision, or like a judgment call that he made last minute. Like it was like an outburst. Outburst.
No,
that was the word
I
I
think
was
he
looking
wanted to
for.
do this shit.
An outburst.
I think he totally wanted to.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely the idea of doing it was there, but in my interpretation, I don't. Again, bearing in mind he's 15, he's still a kid, he's a child. Brain is not fully developed yet at all.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And then whatever brain is there is already severely screwed up because of what he's already been through at such a young age. And I think the whole thing with his grandparents, maybe he really had enough. Like enough was enough, and he made this really rash decision as a child. Brain not fully developed, like I said, and whatever brain he does have is messed up. But I think the thing with his grandparents, I don't think it was. I think maybe for him it was like, let's see what happens. I'm just curious. Like I just want to see, you know what I mean? Kind of with the whole like killing, when he was killing the family cats and decapitating and like doing.
He buried a cat alive, and then once it was dead, he unburied it and then chopped its head off.
Yeah.
So holy shit.
But I think at that point, maybe it was just a morbid curiosity kind of a thing where he just had these like, I don't, it could be a combination of both. He had enough and he made this decision because made this rash, childish decision.
Anger and rationality sort of like blended together.
It was just this slurry.
Fucked in a way. I think maybe I don't know.
This slurry in his head of all these different contributing different things. And then like I said, at the I think it was more, maybe it was like he was just curious. Like he'd been doing these things to animals. He'd been at his grandparents' house shooting squirrels and cats probably in the backyard for forever and a day. What's it like?
Back in the day, they didn't think that was weird to do to animals either, because there were no animal rights.
A lot more common.
Like it wasn't where like you had to treat animals a certain way.
No.
There were no rules. As far as I know, I don't know really much about the animal rights in the 70s, but 50s and 60s. I don't know what they are, but from what I remember hearing from different killers in the past, like that was just a thing that kids did. Oh, kids you just blow up frogs. Oh, you just shoot cats. That's just a thing. And all those people ended up being fucking beating their wives or killing people or just being psycho or killing themselves. Like, I don't know. I don't think they knew how to deal with that kind of shit.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're barely halfway, not even halfway into the story.
I think next week we need to do part 2. We got to finish.
I think a part 2's,
absolutely got it.
Because I love this conversation too, though. I love how we get in like the nitty gritty of like, what do you think was going on?
I mean, we've talked a lot about some of the stuff that Ed had to deal with, but we haven't even really scratched the surface
of the things he's done.
The rest of Ed. I mean, and like I said, still very, very much alive and kicking and doing his thing. And
maybe it is time to send him a letter, see if he can answer those or not.
Oh God!
Who knows?
He might just send us what we want to hear, because sociopaths are really good at doing those sorts of things. Even though I feel bad for him.
Well, I mean, one of the things about Ed is that kind of set him apart a little bit is he did these massively heinous, horrible things, but he was never not going to talk about it. Like he talked about it all the time. I think the first interview he gave was days, like a very, very small amount of days.
Hours.
After he was convicted and thrown into lockup. I mean, and
he even turned himself in. Oh my God! Like I guess
I guess he wasn't that smart, then was he?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys watching have not watched Mindhunter on Netflix, it is one of my I've watched this.
I haven't watched it. I haven't
Watch.
done
I have watched
any
the
like
show 10 times, and I'll probably watch more of it tonight. But the first season
Okay.
deals with Ed, and it's a very,
Oh,
very
really?
yeah. The man who plays Ed is shockingly good with how good he does Ed. I mean, he's the same size. He's this big dude, has his tone of voice, his mannerisms, incredible. So if you guys want to see Ed, of course, there's probably tons of interviews with him on YouTube. But if you want to just kind of get a feel of Ed, I mean, definitely watch Mindhunter, because the guy who, I mean, just absolutely incredible portrayal. And
This
he-
actually sparks a question in my brain really quick. How many celebrities are just really good at their job, or they can relate to these people to where they are just so sociopathic that they just absorb all of their characteristics and all this stuff? Oh my God, that's another episode. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's great.
But holy
No,
shit, that makes me think about that.
No, honestly, that's a thing. I think one of the reasons why some of the most beloved roles and beloved actors that we have, I think some of the reasons why, we watch this show, and I'm just talking about the guy in Mindhunter who plays Ed. I forget his name. I'm so sorry. But we talk about these things, and I think there has to be a little bit of, the actor or the actress or reading the script and being like, I am this person. Like, this is who I am. It may not be who I am to everybody else, but inside I am this there has to be something like that, or else they wouldn't be as good as we talk about how good they are. You know what I mean? Like there has to be a little bit of, and then it gets scary, because then we have people that
sociopathy.
Yeah.
Is that the correct term? Sociopathy.
Something like that. I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure. But his name, by the way, is Cameron Britton.
Cameron Britton. Right,
Yeah.
right. But so then, and then it gets scary, because then we have these actors that do these deeply psychological roles that are scary. I mean, like, look at Tony Hopkins with Hannibal Lecter. You can't think of any other person to be that guy, even though Tony Hopkins in real life is
Or
nothing.
Christian Bale. Holy fuck.
I mean,
and the way that he screamed at his crew members when he was filming Batman. Oh my God.
Yeah, so the way that he screamed, I think it was Terminator, but the way that he screamed.
Was it Terminator or Batman? I thought it was Batman.
No, I think it's actually every movie set he's ever been on. He's allowed, like, it's in contract. He gets 30 minutes of uninterrupted screaming whenever he's unhappy. Just like
Miguel, write that down for whenever I choose to take a role that you offer me.
I'm going to forget to write that down now, huh? Oof.
I'm kidding. I'm so non-confrontational. I'm like, whatever you guys want to do, I don't care.
But I mean, but that's the thing. I mean, we listened to that audio of Christian Bale going off on that poor grip or whatever that guy was. And then we'll watch a movie, like we'll watch American Psycho, and then it sounds the exact same when he's yelling at people. Like, it's the exact same. So it's like,
I'm utterly insane.
Right.
Part of our theme song, by the way.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it has to be. It's just, so that's when it gets scary, is when we have these actors that are in these deeply psychological, scary, murderous, and then they do it so well. It's like, well, are you doing this so well because you're that good an actor, or is there?
Like, how far deep are you into these roles? Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's
That's
almost
nothing,
time. But holy shit, you guys. I'm so excited for part 2 next week.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because
Honestly,
this is a really intense conversation, and it's the kind of shit that I love getting into, for sure. I'm so excited that everybody got to participate this week. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff we got to cover.
Oh yeah. Ed is I mean, for such a simple, I mean, he's not simple, but for such a simple, like I said, just stereotype A to B to C to D making of a serial killer, for how simple that is. Ed has so much. There's just so much there. And I think there's just so much about Ed that kind of really sets him apart. And yeah, I mean, one could say like, oh, he's just another serial killer, but there's something about him. There's something about Ed that was a little bit different. I mean, was it because he was so smart or is so smart? I mean, yeah.
Or is he the lovable dude that we think that Dexter Morgan is? Just trying to get by. Like
I honestly think that
I don't know. I'm so torn.
I don't have actually much sympathy for this guy. I think I'm away on the other end on this one.
Yeah, I don't know. I think what he did with the corpses that we'll get into kind of ruined it for me. But
you know what?
All of that makes me feel sorry for him. So I don't know.
But you know what's so interesting, Miguel, is Ed would be the kind of guy where he would sit down with you and you could tell him to his face, "I don't feel bad for you," and he'd be like, "Okay."
Yeah, I don't feel bad for me either. He would say things like that.
Yeah,
I deserve it. Whatever.
And
he would continue.
That's why he deserves it so much more, because he's so self-aware.
You shut your mouth. I don't know.
Because if you have someone who's telling you, like, because he complained about one of his cellmates one time, like or blockmates, not in the same cell, about them not getting as harsh a sentence as he did, and then in the same breath, it's like, well, it's funny for me to complain when I did what I did to people, and it's like, you know how bad it was, and you have admitted before you would continue to kill if you had the opportunity. Like,
oh my god,
there's no, that's not remorse. That's faking it. Like, if you
know that you would do it.
I
mean, if he turned himself in,
I think he
we'll
turned
get
himself.
into that next week.
Yeah, we'll get to that next week, because there's reasons he did it. It wasn't because he's like, oh, I must be stopped. No, I think there's way other reasons. He's a bad man.
Let me get my arguments first.
Bad man with a big he's a giant gummy bear man. That's bad.
But that's another thing that's so interesting about Ed, is that he's able to talk about these horrible things that he did, but he's able to acknowledge and see, if I were, he's what, 73, 74? Is that what you said?
I just had his age too.
73.
72.
So he's 73
yeah, 73. Yeah.
But he can fully acknowledge within himself, probably at this age, if he were to be set loose,
he would hurt people, and he knows that.
And so he knows that about himself.
I don't know.
Listen, I'm not jetting up to Vacaville. Listen. I'm not jetting up to Vacaville to go knock on his cell door to see if I can give this man a hug. No, we're not doing all that.
How about this? All right.
I love you.
I'm gonna get the AZ girls in on this too. All right. We're gonna play draw the shortest straw. Whoever gets the shortest straw has to go on a car trip with him from Bakersfield back to Vacaville. And then whoever gets murdered, we'll make like a plaque for you. Like,
if
we're gonna make sure you're
to bring a firearm.
No, cheating. No.
No, you shut your mouth. Why don't you go?
I'm not his type.
He doesn't like dudes.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
I don't think he doesn't.
A victim.
Well,
I bet he would have killed a guy.
According to you, it doesn't matter.
I mean, don't take this the wrong way, Lauren. I know you're so excited to hang out with Ed, but at the same time, you're 4'10", and he's.
I know he would fucking stomp on my head and crush my entire soul.
Or maybe he wouldn't. Maybe he would be a completely respectable gentleman, wouldn't lay a finger on you, and the whole ride, you guys are just.
As long as I don't remind him of his mother.
I can.
I don't think that would be good. That would be bad. Yeah. He'd be triggered.
No, he hated women, and I guess we'll talk about that next week.
All right, yeah, we'll wrap it up for today, because there's a lot more. I don't want to miss any of it, but we will get back to you guys. I guess we'll start him getting out for the first time after his grandparents.
Okay, after his psychological stint in the psychiatric prison. And then, we'll talk about after he turns 21 and is released next week. And then the week after that, if you guys want to stay tuned for a game that we're going to be playing, that'll be fun. We'll tell you about it next week.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good one, and we will see you same time, Thursdays. Anything else before we go, guys? Part 2.
No, follow us all on Instagram.
Yeah.
Miss Alien Queen. You got your Instagram?
I do. I have my Instagram. It is actually, I don't go by Alien Queen on Instagram. I am Miss Beetlejuice On Instagram.
Oh, that's the okay.
Fucking
Okay,
love that.
so that's the one you want us.
Why
to
the hell are you
tag
not
in.
using that more often? Why do I not hear this? What?
Bridal
Am I
juice?
not
It's
following
Bridal
you?
juice.
Am I
Bridal
not
juice.
following you on? Oh my god! All right, ending the show so I can go to Instagram. Sorry, guys. My bad.
Lauren.n.facenda.88 on Instagram is where I'm at. Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
but I have to show you though my because I spell it weird.
Miss Bridal Juice.
There's
I just made that
Okay.
up. I don't know. We can't see it. We'll put it in the description.
Yeah. Do that because you can't just type it in. I had to be, I had to be unique for Instagram and
I don't
put
use my
underscores
maiden
and
name.
stuff.
So if you're looking for me, it's Facenda. By the way,
Facenda.
yeah, we'll put it in the links. Thank you guys. Thanks for
All right,
watching.
guys.
We love
Y'all
all of
have-
you.
Bye.